We've all known these crises are coming for years and years and years.
Lack of planning is starting to take its toll now. The man on the street is tired of what they've had to face. They're tired of reading about corruption. We need to be in an environment that is conducive to good business.
Welcome to Beyond the Boardroom, our podcast on current issues facing South Africans on a day-to-day basis. Today we're joined by Norman Raad, our CEO of Boardroom Auctions and Sales, businessman, entrepreneur, obviously property stalwart. You've got years and years of experience. Welcome. We'd like your opinion and your take on some of these things that we're facing today. So, Norman, should we dive right in and do this?
Thank you. I'm ready for you.
Okay, cool. So obviously there's a whole series of challenges that we're facing globally and locally. What would you say are the biggest ones facing South Africans currently?
I don't think you have to be too bright to work that one out. I think our biggest challenge is economic policies and our government and where we've been, and we're not doing a good enough job to get us out of that. You know, we've faced some difficult times before COVID.
Yeah.
We've had an Eskom crisis, which is bringing the country and the economy to its knees.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, in the property sector, we need to be in an environment that is conducive to good business. And right now, we're not in that environment. And people are not sure when it's going to end, if there's going to be corrected, or if there's a positive path that existing government is going to take. I think they've lost favour with a lot of the people, the normal citizens.
Yeah.
Interest rates have gone up.
The rand is sitting in the dumps. Yeah.
We are looking at generators, fuel prices have gone up. The rand has crashed.
We've all known these crises are coming for years and years and years. And it seems to be they talk and talk and talk and they chat and chat and chat, but nothing ever actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I'm not in government.
Yeah,
you know, so
you're a private person.
I'm not privy to what's going on there. But I think the lack of planning over the years, the many years, the last 20, 25 years, the lack of planning is starting to take its toll now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been really any concerted effort or will to make sure that we have a runway that is going to be conducive to a great economy and good business platform where people can survive and do well and grow and continuous growth.
Yeah. And how do you feel these little coalition parties that are currently doing the mayoral races, on a provincial level, how is that impacting business and the ability to make decisions and run our cities and our metros? So
myself and I think the average citizen don't really care who runs the country.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not against one particular party. I think we just want who's ever in charge to do what's right. So if the coalition parties get into power and they are able to make a change for the better,
do a turnaround,
we support it. Doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah.
We want change. We want a good, conducive environment with which we can work and do business.
Yeah.
The man on the street is tired of what they've had to face. They're tired of reading about corruption. They're tired about reading about where Eskom and it hasn't got a solution for us, and there's going to be continued blackouts and indefinitely.
Correct.
There's no certainty of when this is going to end.
Yeah.
So I think all we want is change. And hopefully we'll get change from newer coalitions that have got the good intentions of our country to be progressive and to do well in the future.
Do you think we're not too far down the road in terms of the load shedding? What I know De Ruyter in his carte blanche interview said, look, it's inevitable we're going to have this 2-week blackout, while they try and switch us back on. Are we too far gone?
So again, I'm not an electrical engineer and I don't sit in that boardroom.
Do you keep your finger on the pulse?
But whatever it is, and hopefully we don't get to that stage. But it's had a massive effect on our industry and on our country and on the property market and just the people's daily lives and on the economy.
Having said that, as in the commercial space, what would your advice be to landlords and owners in terms of this load shedding that's going to be here and probably going to get worse?
So I'll get to that. Just on the previous question, I think South Africans are resilient.
Yeah.
And a lot of us South Africans don't have anywhere to go. We're here to stay and we want to make a plan. We're dealing with unfortunate circumstances, which I think is but unfair and due to the ill planning. And we're looking for leadership to take us out of this. And right now, we're not there. I think the property market has been one of the industries that has been the most greatly affected across the board because we all rely heavily on the ability to perform, and that's our tenants.
Yeah.
They need to have power. They need to be able to operate. They need to have, the industry needs power. They all occupy properties. The investment side, people don't want to invest. They have a reluctance to invest because they're not sure if they invest in something that they may not get a return on.
Correct, yeah.
The cost or the burden of having to put solar to make sure that your lights are on. The cost of fuel for the generator.
Yeah.
Someone to man the generator, someone to deliver
service
fuel.
It, yeah.
So those are all extra costs, taxes to our business that we weren't prepared for and ready for, and I think across the industry it's had a negative effect on property. I mean, whatever you made before, whatever return that there was before, you're getting less today.
Yeah, simply because you're having to fork out more and take a higher risk, I suppose, in terms of property. Yeah.
And we haven't even got to the increased rates on the property. So, I find it like quite crazy that when your rates accounts go up and the property prices across the board have come down. So if we look at real-time valuations across the last decade, you'll find that property prices have come down in real terms, not in relative terms.
Yeah.
The property prices that were valued in 2013 to 15, I would say, are cheaper on a lot of properties than they are today.
Yeah.
Yet the rates have gone up every 5 years. So I'm trying to work out where they get their calculation. Is it just we need more taxes, we need more money, let's put the prices up? Because it's not good for the property investor or the industry because less people want to invest.
Of course.
Less people want to invest and make their properties better.
Yeah.
And that just makes the investment pool smaller and chases people away from the industry. So we try to navigate this process with council, and obviously the powers that be need to realize that it's having a more negative effect on the economy. More people are being let off or saying, listen, we can't afford to keep any more staff or this amount of staff because the increased cost of running our business or running the property. Yeah. And property is a business,
Absolutely.
And they're having to let people go.
That's quite sad.
Unemployment's going up.
Yeah.
And they're asking us, business, to increase and to re-employ and to grow business, but they're not giving us the platform or the environment with which to do so.
It's kind of tying your hands behind your back and going, okay, please, Do you think the solution lies in private sector coming to the party?
Well, it's always been there, and that has been the answer. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they have the ability to turn this around without getting the private sector involved. The private sector needs to be given the mandate to go and take over industry that the government's failed. I mean, we saw the struggle of SAA. We saw, there's so many of these parastatals have just failed. And I think the private sector, I think we all agree, will do a much better job. Hopefully, when that time comes, it won't be too late.
Yeah.
In the olden days, I think you used to get into business to make money. I think a lot of the people are getting into government to make money. Yeah. And I think that's got to change.
Okay, I agree with you. And then what sort of trends are we seeing coming out of the commercial real estate space in terms of, what's popular in terms of purchase, leasing, owner-occupier, industrial, retail? And are these also being driven by these key influences within South Africa?
So there's been a definite change in industry across the world with regards to logistics, online purchasing. So we've seen a massive increase in demand for industrial warehousing and space, and logistics companies popping up here and doing well and capitalizing. That continues to grow. So the industrial sector has done well over this last period. The rentals are going up. We've seen the neighborhood shopping centers weather the storm over COVID and continue to be able to capitalize on the environment and offer something to the area where they are and hold their value. But on the commercial side, besides the Cape, I think everywhere else has seen a massive reversion in rentals and investment values with your commercial properties. The vacancies have increased tremendously, continue to do so. In Sandton, I think there's over 500,000 square meters of vacant office space.
Sure.
And it's a buyer's market. It's a tenant market. You can pick and choose if you're in the commercial space.
Yeah. It
is changing. It is getting better. It's starting to improve a little bit. But coming off such a low base, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
The increased costs of being in business today is challenging.
Yeah.
So the banks are also looking at that, and they're looking at your cash flow, and they're looking at funding your other development. And we haven't seen much development going up around here at all.
No.
So you won't see many cranes in Sandton, which was, I would say, 10, 15 years ago, there was cranes all over the place.
Booming,
So I think the other developing area is the affordable housing. I've seen those companies. There's obviously a demand for housing in South Africa. There's an increased demand there's just not enough homes for the individual, the first-time buyer.
Yeah.
And they are doing very well, and they're selling, and there's also space for them to rent. And for all property owners or first-time buyers, it's also it's not so easy to own your first property. So the rentals are also, the rental market's good.
Yeah.
And that's for the developers, to develop, to rent. That's on the up. So it's not all doom and gloom for all sectors.
There are pockets of hope and
because there's still a will for South Africans to continue with business. And there's still a need for certain requirements in the industry.
Yeah.
The banks are looking at each deal a lot more closely.
Okay.
Development land, on commercial offices. But if your fundamentals are right for an investment property, then the banks will give you the money.
Okay.
We've seen a listed REIT go into business rescue. There was predominantly government buildings that went through a difficult, I think the post last 8 to 10 years that portfolio has been under pressure.
Yeah.
I think it's the process has ended now. But the more properties that come to the market, the more you can choose from, the less the increased supply, the less the demand, because the buyers have got something to choose from. So
correct.
These are all downward pressures on the industry.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us a while to get out of it.
Okay. But there's still value. If a property is in the correct location, properly priced, if it represents, its true value, I think that there's still place for buyers to pick it up.
So we've had, this last auction was, we had some incredible properties in stock that was brought to the market. It was a difficult auction, although there were buyers, and we've sold a number of properties.
Yeah.
It was difficult. The auction before was very well attended, massive interest, a lot of bidding, possibly our best auction in 3 years. And there are buyers out there. There's still people that we can, touch and feel and engage with and say, listen, you really want to buy properties and we'll try and make things happen for you.
Yeah.
So, we at the cold face of the transaction in the industry. So, but they're looking at the properties, at their new values a lot more closely.
Yeah. It's not just sort of pick and flip and take, just spend money willy-nilly like the couple of years back. And then also the Rand. We had our auction the day after the Rand hit its lowest point ever, I think. Very brave of us. Do you think that would have had a knock-on effect immediately at the auction or post-auction, where people would be like, oh, okay, this is probably going to lead to another interest rate increase, so maybe we hesitate now and we wait, we play the wait and see game?
So we've seen a massive outflow of money in the country over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
People have been investing offshore when it comes to property, and if anyone has taken their money offshore, they would have benefited.
Yeah.
Because they can bring it back now and they would have made a profit. Are they going to bring it back and invest in South Africa? I'm not so sure that the rand has reached its weakest point yet. Before that to happen, there's got to be a lot more consistency, a lot more certainty, and a lot more needs to happen and change for the country to be in a positive light.
Yeah.
But it affects everyone. It affects the fuel price.
Yeah.
It affects industry, inflation, interest rates. We're governed by the dollar. The dollar, there's a sneeze around the dollar, we get the flu. So, it's not good for us, no matter which way you look at it, And we like to believe that things will start stabilizing and there will still be some better economic and financial policies put in place to protect us going forward.
Do you think that will happen?
If there's change in the government and in their policies, yes.
Okay, cool.
There are good, willing people that want things to be better.
Absolutely. I think the majority of us are praying and hoping and
for
striving for this.
Yeah. And for our children.
Yeah.
And for our investments that we have in this country.
Yeah. That we're all fighting to stay. Let's basically put it that way. Yeah. So look, we are the Rainbow Nation. We are very positive people, I believe. We're very industrious. We are ingenious in certain things. What advice would you give to potential investors looking to maybe get into property, not sure, with all this stuff, this cloud going on around us?
So I would give clients or buyers, property owners, the same advice that I'm giving myself.
Yeah.
I'm buying.
Yeah.
I'm looking at opportunities. I'm looking at value. I'm comparing existing value to replacement cost value to return value, what kind of returns we can get. I think it's still a long way to go before there's some kind of real correction, and you just need to factor it in your price.
Yeah.
I hope, that's me personally, that things will get better.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this as an opportunity to buy and invest in good quality assets that I think will be around post 10 years. I'm not looking right now, and I don't think there is that opportunity to make a quick return, in the olden days. Yeah. I think property is a hold, it's a long-term investment, and I'm here looking at the right position properties, and I think the client should also be doing that, making sure that the cash flow services the property, be able to look at a long-term gain and yield.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys, from the horse's mouth. If you need any more advice, please contact Broll Auctions and Sales, specifically Norman, who's got years of experience, and he'll steer you in the right direction. That's all from us this week. Thank you.
Thank you.